Welcome back to Carolina This Week. Before you know it, the deadline to file your income taxes will be here. It's April 17th this year because of Emancipation Day in Washington, D.C. falls on the Monday right after the 15th. Paul Reinhardt's with us. He owns a lot of the Jackson Hewitt Tax Services you see around our area. Thanks for being here today, Paul, to talk taxes with us.
No problem. Always excited to talk about taxes this time of year.
First off, everybody should have their W-2s, W-4s, and things like that by now. If you haven't filed yet, is it too late to really start getting on the ball and making sure you have everything, or should you have really been thinking about this a long time ago?
You know, it's never too late. You've got up until April 17th, and even then, if an extension is needed, there's cases in which an extension can be filed to help you gain more time. However, an extension does not mean that you can pay later. It just means that you can finalize your filing later, but you still have to send money in at that time. You know, getting started on taxes, many people, they wait until this time shows up, or they wait until the 10th of April or the 14th of April, and they start to gather it all together. The problem is all throughout the year they walk in the house with the receipt that they need to stave, and they just kind of throw that receipt down. They say, I'll organize it later. Well, before you know it, the whole year goes by, and they wait till the last minute then to get everything organized. That is by far the nightmare of taxes for most Americans, including myself, my very own household. I suffer the exact same misfortune. We recommend to people, you know, you need to start organizing your taxes the very next day after you get done filing it this year. Get a planner, organize your receipts, keep them in different compartments, organize your interest payments, your medical expenses, your job expenses. Keep that stuff organized all throughout the year, and it will make filing much, much easier for you.
Well, and a lot of people will sit down to fill out what they think is going to be a 1040 EZ. They may get a few lines through and say, I don't think I picked the right form out. So.
Yeah, that happens all too often. You know, with all the excitement, the simplification of the tax code, you know, I've watched the tax code get more and more simplified as long as I've been in this business. And the tax code, over its simplification, has gone from 5,000 pages to 20,000 pages. So yeah, it's more simple today than it ever has been, which is why it's just much more of a nightmare in getting organized and getting it all together. You start out going down those forms, and you start hitting the questions, and it's like, wow, now where do I turn to find it? Well, all the information is on the IRS. It's on the website, so you can do your taxes by yourself. You know, it takes people like myself. We study the new tax codes for about 100 hours every year just so we can be prepared for it, and there's a lot there to know.
You talked about receipts. I probably go out to eat, it seems like once a day during the business week, because that's just the way my schedule makes things happen. Should I be saving each one of these receipts? Should I be saving the receipts from the grocery store? Because when you get down to the end of the year, you're wondering what you can write off. Is it good to save every receipt?
Well, you know, the receipts that are tied to businesses, if you're going out and having business lunches, you're discussing work, any receipts that have to do with that, you most definitely need to hang on to. Now, here's an answer I'm going to give you that's going to confuse most people. The answer is, unless you really know for sure, hang on to them all. And if you're not certain, spend time with a tax professional that can go through and itemize and tell you exactly what kind to hang on to based on your life. Everybody's life is different. It's like tax questions. If you ask an individual a tax question, the first answer that's always going to come out is, well, it depends. Because there's so many other chapters to everybody's life. And the taxes, as simplified as the tax code is today, everybody's taxes will put them in a different hole for the proper solution to pay the right amount of taxes.
Now, I was smart. I married a CPA, so she does our taxes every year. I don't have to bother with any of it. But I remember before I was married, and I'd be trying to think of what I could write off, what I could have that could be deducted from my taxes. And it really came down to a game of trying to beat the standard deduction.
Right.
And I imagine that's what a lot of people you see come in that are saying to your tax professionals, help me beat this standard deduction.
Yeah, they do. You know, they're digging so hard to find items to itemize so that they can take more than the standard deduction. However, unless you have some really large deductions, the standard deduction will far exceed what many people will itemize, just because where they've pushed the standard deduction to. So if you don't have enough to itemize, don't worry about it. You're probably in the main, with the main group of America. Different things to look for when itemizing. Again, there's so many different things, and it depends on where your life is. It depends on what you do for a living. So many expenses may be deductible just from what you wear to work, the tools you carry to work, possibly your cell phone, possibly your meals. And again, I say possibly, because it all depends on what kind of life you're living.
If I go to a tax professional, say I go to Jackson Hewitt,
Yes.
and I go in and I look for these deductions and you help me through these things, am I at all protected at that point if you help sign off for me? I mean, am I from I want to say prosecution, unless I go in and lie to my tax professional about
Right.
what's happening, but
Right.
assume I'm on the up and up. Is there some level of protection for me there?
Absolutely. When you come to myself or my operation and we do your taxes for you, provided you answer all the questions truthfully to the best of your efforts, and we fill everything out to the best of our abilities, if we make a mistake, we are totally responsible for the penalties and the interest that may occur from an error that we make on your tax return.
This time of year, when you drive by a lot of these tax services, they're busy. You go by any other time of year, might be closed, maybe out to lunch all day, but this time of year, you guys are busy. Tell me about the hours and tell me about the volume of people you're seeing.
Well, I tell you right now, at this point in the year, here we are midway through February, and well, not quite midway, but at this point in time, people are coming in hot and heavy. There's still some folks that are getting their 1099s from the banks. They're getting these last-minute pieces of paper from the financial institutions, and the lines are coming in. Very, very busy. This is the time of year when most tax professionals are working 80 hours, 100 hours a week. Myself, I'll clock some weeks that are 106 hours long. It's like, wow, I can't believe I worked that long. But you wake up in the morning, you lay your head down. I've woken up before with my head coming up off of a tax return. It's like, okay, let's go back to work.
And if you haven't received your W-2s or W-4s by now, you really should get on your employer to get them to you, because I think by law they needed to be in your possession by now.
They needed to be in the mail no later than the last day of the month in January. That's when they had to be on the way there to you. Now, of course, many things get lost in the mail. Some employers, you just don't know what happened, but after February 15th, you can generate a substitute W-2 so that we can go ahead and finalize your taxes in the event that you cannot get the original W-2 from your employer.
We're going to get to some great viewer questions in just a moment, but one last question for you on the professional side of things. If I go to a tax professional, or really if I sit down to do my own taxes and say they're not terribly complicated, what all do I need to make sure that I have with me to fill out that form correctly?
All right. And here again, it depends, but this is what we need. We must have all your income statements, your W-2s, all your 1099s, anything to do with any interest coming from the bank. If you have anything that you want to know what it's about, bring it to us. Put it all in we do have people that come to us with big shopping bags. Some people come in with boxes of just everything. And they say, here, you said bring it, you'll figure it out. We will figure it out. Bring it to us and we'll help you get through it.
I have that image of somebody coming in with a shopping bag. It's pretty...
We'll see them all.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come right back with Paul Reinhardt. We're going to answer some viewer questions, some great questions that might even help you as you sit down to file your taxes. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Carolina This Week. Paul Reinhardt with Jackson Hewitt Tax Services is with us this morning talking taxes. I put this out on Facebook. I said if you have any questions that you'd like to ask a tax preparer, let me have them. And we've got several good questions, and I'm going to throw them at you right now. This one's from Julie Higgs. She says, there's a dollar amount on my W-2. It's located on line 12A. Do I report this anywhere? Is the total I can claim when I itemize for medical?
Well, Julie, let me start out with the answer to this one. As always, it depends. But primarily, now this is what you're looking at in box 12A. 12A carries, it's an information box. The code letter that is in there, there's 26 different codes for that box.
Wow.
Without seeing exactly what you have on yours, I cannot tell you exactly what that number is for. Once again, I would say please bring it into our office. Let us take a look at it. We'll tell you exactly what that code is all about.
Okay.
There are some items in box 12A that are taxable. There are other, it will show other items that are monies put into your IRAs. There could be income on there that's not taxable at all, such as military combat pay. So it really just depends. Please bring it to us and we'll help you out.
Okay. Here's another one. This is from Rhonda Hutchinson. I've been unemployed for almost 3 years now and have been attending school on a Pell Grant. How am I to handle that on my taxes? A lot of people probably in a situation like this, out of work in this economy, decide to go back to school and now they have tax questions.
Absolutely, what to do. Well, Rhonda, this one's pretty easy. It doesn't really depend. The Pell Grant is not taxable. You do not need to include that for taxable income. However, you've been unemployed for a few years while you're going to school. I would assume that perhaps you're drawing unemployment. perhaps some other income from other side jobs, this is reportable as income, and you do need to go in and file a tax return. Many people, they believe I'm unemployed and I'm going to school, no reason to file a tax return. That's not necessarily true, and again, it depends. But quite possibly, you may be eligible for a variety of tax credits, some that are directly refundable. You may get money in your hand for going to school, provided you meet the other criteria that's laid out in the IRS tax code.
Let's go to Monica Bellamy's question. She asks, what can I file this year? I'm just carrying myself. Is there any way I can file something to get more money back? And I assume what she's saying here is, I'm the only one in the household. I don't have any dependents, but I'm looking for some deductions. And I bet I know the answer to this one, but I'm going to let you have it.
All right, well, Monica? Let's see, let's start out with something just a little bit different on this one. It depends. Because when we're talking about this now, it's all just yourself. I'm curious what you may do for a living. Do you have any business expenses? Do you have any medical expenses that may be deductible? Any other training criteria that may be deductible? Money spent on professional service manuals to try to help you become better employed? Again, please come on in, sit down and talk with us. The nice thing about us here at Jackson Hewitt, you can come in, sit down and talk with us. We will work all the way through your tax return. If you don't like what you hear, we don't charge you a dime for our time. We're just happy to help you. It's a service that we give. We know how challenging taxes can be, and we'll answer any of these questions for you in our office. And we'll eliminate the "it depends" portion of the answers to this and set you on the straight and narrow and tell you exactly how you need to be.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, I could accuse you of trying to get people into your office, but it depends really is the answer to a lot of these questions.
It really is, because again, with the tax code, keep in mind it's 20,000 pages long.
Wow.
You know, just it's just crazy. It is. That's why I love it so much, because it is a puzzle of the greatest nature. So to try to weave the way through it to make sure that we pay the taxes we're supposed to, but never a dollar more than we're supposed to.
Let's go to our last question. This is from William Hovis. Can I claim my children even though my ex lives with her parents? Last year, their grandparents claimed them, but my child support is greater than 50% of my ex's cost of living. Who has the right to claim them? I think my parental rights should supersede the grandparents.
Well, William, I'm sorry to say, but in this case, no. The IRS makes it very clear that the custodial parent gets the deduction for having the child in the house. However, there is one caveat to this. If between you and your ex-spouse, you provide more than 50% of the support for the children, and your ex-wife will sign a Form 8332, that will allow you to take the deduction. You'll have to include that form onto the tax return and send it into the IRS, but then you will be allowed to take the deduction for the child. You may also be eligible for the child tax credit. However, you will not be eligible for the head of household filing or the earned income tax credit on that.
All right. Well, we answered the viewers' questions. You answered a few of my questions, too. Paul, I thank you for coming to talk to me about taxes today.
I thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure. Anytime we can help, we're always here.
All right. Stay with us. We'll be right back with more Carolina This Week.